All right, so next on the list here is, come on. Are we? Oh, okay, we are. As soon as it works. That's weird. All right. Next on the list here is going to be to create a spline IK. So the idea here is that we create a curve that goes up the spine, and then we manipulate that curve to flex it and what have you. All right. So this should be relatively easy. All right. So let's do that. So what we're going to do is you're going to go skeleton, and let's go ahead and go to create spline IK handle, hit the option box. Let's see, root on curve. Let me just hit reset tool. So let's click off auto parent curve, twist type linear. That's probably fine for the settings. All right. So what I need to do is I need to click on the spine joint. But if you remember, we have the hips override and the spine like in the same area. So it's kind of hard to select it here. So I'm actually going to go over and just click on it here. So I have the spine joint 1. And then I'm going to go up here and click on this one. Boop. Now you're going to notice the whole guy just sort of shifted. And that's just because what it does is it creates a curve on the inside that you can then manipulate. So to give you an idea of what I'm saying, it's basically this. If I take these joints and let's say we template them, if I go to this curve and if I change this curve in some way, you're going to see that there's the curve is getting changed and the joints try to stay on that curve. Okay, which is if you think about when you have your spine, right? It moves in a very like in a linear kind of following a curve sort of way, right? So that's why this works pretty well. For this specific type of joint. Now, what I don't want to have to do is grab these stupid points every time to do what I need. Like, that's pretty lame. So, what we're going to do instead is make controllers to control these. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you can actually just turn those joints right off so they're not in the way. That's probably good. And let me go back to object mode. And then what you're going to want to do is we want to take this curve and we're going to want to control it. So what you're going to do is right click over top of the curve, go to control vertex, and I want you to select the top 2. Now you notice that the stupid handle's in the way, right? So that's difficult. One of the things you can do to get rid of objects that you're not, instead of having to put them on layers that you just don't want to see, is you could go to show and then you can turn off things here. So let's go to show and turn off IK handles. Now, IK handles aren't visible anymore. You'll notice that we don't see them here either. So any IK handle will be gone. So now, right-click over top of it, go to Control Vertex, click and drag over the top 2 CVs, okay? There's 4 total, but I just want you to grab the top 2. Then you're going to go to Deform, and you're going to create a cluster. All a cluster is, it's literally a handle that you can select. And then when I move that handle, it's moving the vertices that I basically parented to. Okay, it's kind of the idea behind it. So I'm going to right click over top of this again, go to Control Vertex, and I'm going to grab the bottom 2. And I can just hit G since cluster was the last thing I did. Or if you want, you can just go to Deform and go cluster again. Okay, just so that's easier for you. All right, so now we have a top cluster and a bottom cluster. And we can basically use those to manipulate the 2. All right. We're just going to make a base curve here in order to control the waist. So go to create, nerves, primitives, and just do circle again. I'm going to put joints back on. And I'm actually going to turn off this. I'm going to put joints just totally on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and we're just going to point snap it to the hip here. So I'm going to hold V, W for the move tool, V for point snap, and I'm just going to point snap it to the hips. Then I'll hit R for scale. I'm going to grab it by the center cube there. I'm going to put Geo back on so I can compare it. And I just want to make sure it's big enough that I can grab it, but it's not like crazy. I'm going to make it a little bit too big. We're actually going to make a couple of these. So we'll say that that's good. Let's just go ahead and we'll just call this the let's call it the hips controller underscore L underscore CRV. That looks fine. And then just do modify freeze transformations. And I just want to get rid of this extra history. So I'll do edit, delete by type history, not delete all by type. Okay. We'll call that good. I'm going to duplicate that, Control D, and I'm actually going to scale that down a little bit. So there's one on the inside, one on the outside, and this one, we're just going to change it and call it hips override controller, and we're going to take that L out. I don't know why I put an L there. It should be, we're going to put C instead. And then modify freeze transformations. I'm going to go to this one and take that L out and put a C. C for center, okay? All right, good. So now we have an hips override controller, we have a hips controller, and now we're going to need a chest controller. So I'm going to duplicate this again, Control D. It doesn't matter which one you duplicate, just duplicate one of the two. And I'm going to point snap it up to the top. Now you might need to turn the geometry off so you don't accidentally snap to the geometry, but just make sure it's point snap to that chest joint. Then you can put the geo back on and just scale it so that you can select it, but it's not like unwieldy. I'm actually going to squeeze it in a little bit this way too. And that looks fine. These probably could use a little bit of squeeze in that direction as well. Let's squeeze these in a little bit. That looks fine. Modify freeze transformations. Select this one, modify freeze transformations. Just want to make sure I zero out those. That's why we're freezing them. All right, go ahead and rename this. Take that one off of there, and we're just going to call this the chest controller. Oops. Chest controller underscore C underscore CRV. All right. We now have roughly the things that we need to control the things that we want to. All right. So pretty easily, you'll see that it's hard to grab those clusters with everything in there. And we could turn a bunch of things off to get to them, but that's not the best way to go about it. So what I'm going to do instead is select the clusters here. So if I click on that one, I can see it's the upper one. So I'm going to select that one. And then I'm going to shift select the curve. So I select the handle, shift select the curve, and then hit P. Now when I move this handle, right, the curve, that cluster moves with it, and then the cluster moves the CVs, which bends the curve, which manipulates the joints. We're going to do the same thing on the bottom here with the outside curve, okay? So select the other cluster handle, shift select the outside curve, and hit P, okay? So now when I move this guy, you'll see that it will move the bottom, which is good, okay? And if I grab this, it's not doing anything. So we'll do this one in a second. Actually, while we have this one selected, let's just go ahead and control it. I'm going to select this. I'm going to hold. I'm going to shift click on this bone. It's easy to try and get the hips override. I could go through here, but if you click on a bone, it'll actually select the joint. The line thing here is the bone. The circle is the joint. So if I want to grab this joint here, if I click on it, I got it there, but there's always a chance I might accidentally knock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, and then I want to grab this joint. So I'm just going to grab the bone, this part. I'm going to just hold shift and click on it. And then we're going to do constraint, and then you're going to go to parent, hit the option box, and just do edit, reset settings, and the defaults are fine. Hit add. Now, when click off and click on the curve, you'll notice that when you go like this, it'll move just the hips. Okay? And the top one will move the waist, okay? All right. Now what we want to do is basically parent the items together. So we're going to grab this one and parent that to this outside curve, hit P, and then we'll grab, actually, we want to grab this one, and we'll just parent it to the outside as one. So click this and hit P. So now when we grab this, it'll rotate both of those, okay, like so, and that's fine and dandy. But if we do want to move the hips individually, we can also just go like this, and that will shift just the hips for us, all right? So that's pretty good. This will work for a lot of things. Like if I grab this, and let's just make it so we can see this geometry a little bit better. If I grab this and I pull it forward, and you rotate it, right, you'll see that we can bend him forward, and that's great. One of the issues with this, though, is that I can't do this. I can't twist it, right? When we go to try and twist, nothing happens. And that's because all we're doing is manipulating vertice points. Spinning a vertice doesn't do anything. I can manipulate the positions, which will result in a bend, but I can't spin it. So what we're actually going to do is hook up this thing's rotate to a twist attribute. So I'm going to turn the geometry off. Basically on the IK handle, which we can no longer see because we turned it off. So I'm going to go to show, turn IK handles back on. If I select this IK handle, you're going to see it has a twist attribute, just like the other IK handle did for the feet, right? So if I go to twist, you're going to see it's going to twist the thing. Now I don't want to have to go to this every time. So what we're going to do is we're going to select, actually I have nothing selected, probably easier to do this way. Windows, General Editors, and we're going to go to Connection Editor. I'm going to select the chest controller here, and we're going to reload left. Okay. What we're going to do, so that one's going to be the driver, and then we're going to select the IK handle, and we're going to reload right. And we're not going to make an attribute to twist it. We're literally just going to hook up its rotate Y. So I'm just going to go to the rotate Y. Where are you, rotate? Right here, rotate. I'm going to hook up the rotate Y to the twist of the other. So now when I rotate, it's actually putting its rotate values into the twist values. So you see when I rotate, see how it says minus 52 point whatever? If you select this, you can see that 52 whatever is getting thrown in here. And see how it's a little yellow? That means there's a direct connection. Okay? And that will allow us to actually, and then we can close out of this now. That will allow us to actually now twist and turn our spine here. And we can grab this, and this probably won't work entirely. Okay, it's moving it. And yeah, so we now have that, and we can rotate this forward, you can see, and then we can take this and go like, looks like he's trying to take a poop or something, or he hurt his back, I don't know. He's doing that. And then we can go like this, and he can go, yeah. It was not my intention, but it was a, you know, nice little touch. Okay. But we'll call that good for the spine. So now it has the spine, roughly with the Spline IK. You can see that's probably a little bit more straightforward. We're definitely making a lot of nodes here that we'll have to clean up, but it's a start, okay? And we can make this look nicer, but it's a start of a rough rig. Okay, yeah, last thing to do actually is just save this. Save it as the next version. 3. And that is good. And that's basically what you'll turn in is just this file. So you'll see it's a .mb file right up here. Mine's Wolvie rig, blah, blah, blah. Just submit the MB file is good enough for me. All right.